A man stood in front of the posting board. Anyone that looked at him could tell he was from the hinterlands, the forests, the mountains. The way he was dressed, the knife at his side, the way he rested his weight on his heels. You just knew he moved fast and quiet. And you definitely didn't want to be downrange of anything he had in his hands. One particular post drew his attention, and he nodded. And later that day, he went to the appointment to meet the people who in the post had said they were looking for someone to help them, looking for someone to help them get through the wilderness. He walked up to the table. He nodded. He said, "I hear you're looking for someone to help you, to get you through those places where the roads stop. That's me." The two companions introduced themselves, and they said, "So what's your name, friend?" He said, "Odd." The companions exchanged a look and turned back and said, "Just Odd?" Suddenly, Odd was standing in his childhood village, the village of Skullgrim, back when he was known as Odd Eriksson. Odd lived with his father, Eric. He had vague memories of his mother. She had left long ago, tired of Eric's drinking and sloth. Eric really didn't seem to do much in the eyes of many folks, but he was good at poaching. He was good at smuggling. He was always on the edge of the law. He was never egregious with either, but he made enough coin to get his drink, pay his taxes, even if they always were late. And when the village needed his help, he was there. So they put up with them. But in the process of living with his father, even when he was drunk, slothful, Odd picked up some very useful skills. He learned how to hunt, how to track, how to spot traps, and how not to be heard. And if things had continued at the pace, maybe Odd would have become a poacher and a smuggler himself. He would have been excellent at either. But when Odd was 15, something happened. Skullgrim was a place known for its weapons. They mined their own iron, made good steel, and turned that good steel into some of the best weapons in the entire kingdom. And every fall they sent a shipment to the king, and that coin kept them going through the winter. But this year, the shipment had been waylaid. Bandits had found it, killed 2 of the villagers. But in the process of their raid, one of the bandits was caught. And the villagers gave the bandit a choice. He could tell them the truth and get a quick, clean death by the sword. Or if he lied, and they would know he lied thanks to the village priest, they'd tie him to a rock and drop him into the deep, dark lake near the village. The one that all the villagers feared the things that lived at the bottom. Not the death of a warrior or even a bandit. The bandit knew they weren't joking, so he told them the truth. Told them how Eric had given them the information so they could find the wagon, waylay the shipment, and make away with all the village's profits for the year. Odd overheard this from outside the moot hall, and while the adults argued about what they should do with Eric, Odd ran home. He found his father packing his things hurriedly, preparing to leave. And he looked at Odd and said, "Come with me, son." He says, "You're good in the forest. You and I, we can make some coin." And he had that little sly smile on his face. But this time, Odd looked at his father with different eyes. He didn't see the clever hunter or the wily smuggler. He saw a coward. He saw an oath breaker. And Odd spat on the floor and said, "I am no longer Eriksson." Odd watched the light in his father's eyes grow dim, and he nodded, and he fled. Odd packed his things and went outside and sat, waiting for the villagers. When they showed up, he said his father was gone. He hadn't followed him. Some of the villagers looked angry. Maybe they suspected that Odd was involved in this. But Odd looked them in the eye and said, "I am Erickson, no more." And they nodded, because no one wanted to be related to an Oathbreaker. And suddenly, Odd was standing in front of the companions. And they looked at him and he said, "Yeah, just Odd." And then we had the story of Odd, formerly known as Odd Erickson, a man who is a skilled tracker, hunter, ranger, good at helping getting your companions through the forests, usable as an NPC if you need someone to act as an expert, or as a full-fledged ranger for your D&D or Pathfinder style games. Of course, it wouldn't be difficult to scrub those names off and turn them in any kind of outdoorsy guy you needed for any kind of a fantasy setting, whether it was real world or more high fantasy with elves and dragons and such. And the name Odd is an actual real world name, to the best of my knowledge, still in use. I've always loved the name Odd, and there was a very important NPC in an old campaign that we ran back in 2nd edition, where one of the characters was playing a fighter, and it made sense within the context of the campaign for that fighter to come out of play for a while. He had to go have some special training done. So rather than have the player not be able to play, we let him play one of the fighter's followers, because almost everybody in the group had some kind of follower, whether it was just a spear carrier or somebody to help take care of the horses and their armor and such. And Odd was a Norse style warrior, so the player character got to play Odd for a while his character was off doing training stuff that was going to be too long and involved to get to really be part of the campaign proper. So Odd became a very important NPC, because when the player characters got his regular character back, Odd stuck around and became very important. They became very close companions. So I always loved the character of Odd, and I never really gave Odd a full-blown background, because Odd had always only ever been known as Odd. I don't think we ever actually had a name other than Odd for him. So I thought, why not come up with one? So here you go. So here is the story of Odd, the man formerly known as Odd Erickson, and how he arrived at just going by one name, and how he arrived at the skills he earned, and the man he hated.